So good evening to everybody. I'm even live streaming it on YouTube so that it gets recorded there. So I can record it on my computer if I want, or it can also be permanently available on YouTube for you to see later if you want to take a look at this again. So thank you all very much for coming to this session this evening. How many of you feel that you are not sometimes able to understand why when you do something, you suddenly remember something else? You know, you intend to go but some association is there with something else. Now, mental priming is that. What happens is that one stimulus triggers off a relatively unconnected or unrelated stimulus involuntarily in your subconscious. Okay. So how can we use this? How can this help or hurt us? How can it make or break us? So we'll just take a look at that. Can you all see the slides?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay. But also the background is showing, no? Yeah. Now, mental priming, how is it the basis of habit formation? What we need to understand is the priming effect is there in all our behavior. Okay. So whatever we see, we hear, there is a lot of stuff that we get into our brains without our full awareness, but it is there. That awareness is there, but we are not consciously doing it. Subconsciously, a lot of things are going. Now, the best way to understand the priming effect is, now when I go on a vacation, let us say I have a very wonderful vacation. I'm spending it with my friends, my family. I'm having a very good time. We have a great party. We go to a restaurant, we eat great food, and we really have a lot of fun. Now, there are a lot of little things in the environment in that vacation location, which is going to get into your brain, even though you're consciously not putting it into your brain. So let us take an example of, it may be a vacation you took at the beach. Okay. So every time you see a beach, because you had such a thoroughly enjoyable time in that vacation, the memory of the vacation will come to mind. Though you may just see a beach, you might have gone there for work even. But the fact that the beach was such an enjoyable thing at that time will come that will act as a cue. It's a priming. When you see the beach, it primes your brain to think of that. So mental priming, it is used a lot in psychology. Okay, so exposure to one stimulus influences how you respond to a subsequent related stimulus. So the beach is the first stimulus which you got exposed to. Again, when you get exposed to either the beach itself or you hear an ocean sound, that's a related stimulus. So it's just hearing the ocean brings you the memory of that wonderful vacation. So tiny cues, tiny stimuli, they're there subconsciously all around us, and they significantly affect the way we behave. And these stimuli may be words, images, sounds, smells, a taste, or even a physical movement. Like, for instance, you may have done some adventure games or something in the beach. So let us say you went parasailing. So it will, when you see the beach now, or when you hear the sound of the ocean now, you may not think of the beach, you may think of the parasailing. You see, it is related and yet unrelated. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Are you all with me? Raise your hands if you're with me.
Yes.
Yeah. So they are conceptually related. So it triggers an association, so that the second stimulus is connected to the first stimulus. Now, our whole life is based on our previous programming, previous experiences. And all of this happens without your contributing consciously to it. It has a great effect because it can also be detrimental. Now see, a person who probably was on the beach when the tsunami hit Chennai, okay? That person, every time he sees the ocean, every time he sees the sea, he's going to only have a traumatic experience memory. He's not going to get a pleasant memory. You get a pleasant memory because you had a fantastic vacation in that location. So if the priming effect is used very effectively by advertisers. Say they give you little cues which makes you want to get up and go and buy that pizza or go and buy that dress or whatever. So advertisers actually use priming very skillfully to program your brain, to bring an association of joy, of pleasure, of satisfaction, of achievement, of prestige, whatever, with the product that they are advertising. So what in our brain we don't have individual things broken up in bits. We have schemas. We have a whole unit of a memory. So it is a schema of information which is stored in our long-term memory. So the brain remembers things as pictures and schemas. It doesn't remember it as individual words or individual components. Like when you look at a painting, for instance, you don't say, you look at the whole painting and say it's beautiful. You don't say, okay, in the painting, this mountain looks good, this plant looks good, this tree looks good, whatever. You don't break it into bits. The brain takes the whole picture. So that can be activated by various sensory stimuli, like a sight, smell, sound, etc. When the schema is activated, the memory becomes easier to access. Now, the classical example that is given for you to understand this well is, when I say the word yellow, what comes to mind? Any of you, unmute yourself and tell me.
Sunflower.
Sunflower. Okay. What else? Anybody else?
Sunshine.
Sunshine. Okay. So for some people, it may be a banana. Now, all of you refer to things which are yellow in color. Okay. But they are not related really as structurally, they are not the same. A sunflower is not related really as, it's not one of the colors. You get what I'm saying? It's a concept. So when we say banana, or when I say banana, the yellow color may come, and I say, think of a color, yellow color will come to mind, or green, depending on which banana you're talking about. You get that? So what will happen is, you will not remember when I say banana or when I say yellow, you're not going to think of a television set. You're not going to think of a mountain. You understand there's an association with the sunflower, sunshine, banana. So that is the priming. The word yellow triggered a priming effect. So when you see the sun, you appreciate the golden yellow of the sun. Or when you see the sunflower, you think, okay, what a bright yellow this sunflower is. And when you choose a dress, maybe, this is sunflower yellow. You don't just say it's yellow. It is sunflower yellow. So these are the little priming triggers and cues that give us that completeness of our experiences. So certain schemas are activated together. In some, they are related, in some they are connected, and they can be activated at the same time. So this is how many of our habits form. So why do we say that priming is very important in habit? You're a fitness trainer. So you want to go to you told your client, you have to come to the gym 3 times a week. But then I'm not a very motivated person to come to the gym. So very often, many people say, don't worry about whether you feel like going to the gym or not. Just get up and put on your shoes. That is the priming effect. You see, when I put on the shoes, straight away, the connection comes that I have to walk to the gym or run to the gym or go there and do this, do this, do this. So you can use positive priming like that. The same can happen negative priming. Like I told you about the tsunami. So once I've been a victim of a tsunami, I'm going to be terrified about going near the beach. Because I will think a tsunami can come anytime. And it takes me some time to get over that priming which I have been experiencing. So once a related schema is activated and it's accessible, you're able to draw related information into your memory more quickly. So that is the benefit of priming. So when I say name 20 things which are yellow in color, because of the priming effect, you're going to rattle off 20 things which are yellow in color based on your previous experience. So that is the priming effect. Now, the example they give here is, say it's raining and you're driving on the road. So what happens? We know that roads get wet and slippery. That's a connection that we know. Or maybe we did slip on a slippery road sometime. So when we drive and it's raining, the memory of the slippery road will be there. And you slow down and drive carefully. Or walk carefully, whatever. So this is the connection that the brain keeps linking all these little cues in this, and it forms a schema and forms a memory which goes into your long-term memory. So it's a technique where you introduce one stimulus to influence the person to respond to a subsequent stimulus. So this single stimulus you induce to motivate me to come to the gym is as soon as you get up, brush your teeth and have your coffee, wear your shoes. Then wear your gym dress. Whether you're going to the gym or not, never mind. Wear the gym dress. Likelihood is that you will go to the gym. You're not going to put the gym dress and come and sit down in the couch again. So that is the way you use it in positive stimulation. It works because it gives an association. Or from your past memory, yeah, I went to the gym that day, I really benefited from it. So anyway, I got dressed, so I might as well go. You understand? So that your mood shifts, what you do shifts. And this happens without your conscious awareness. And it's happening in various activities of our daily lives. Like this yellow and banana, you're more likely to think of a banana and not of a television. Because television and yellow don't click together in your mind, isn't it? And these two are more closely linked, so they come more easily. So to retrieve a specific memory from all these associations which we had, you have to activate any one of the strands that leads to it. When you activate that one strand, that is called priming. So when you see or hear the word rabbit, what happens? You visualize a rabbit in your mind. You also probably will visualize the word hare, H-A-R-E, or the word rabbit. And when you think of hare, your mind will also think of H-A-I-R, because it's a related, similar sounding word. Because of your priming effect that you are aware of these words. Are you able to understand what priming is? So it's not really an act of preparation. It's an act of linking and associative linking. So you can say positive or negative priming. In a positive priming, you start processing faster because you make these quick connections. Now, many of these memory people who teach you rapid memory and all that, how do those people rattle off 300 numbers and all that? Because they have a priming mechanism in which they link numbers, and that goes into their memory and they're able to retrieve it faster. So it really improves your memory retrieval. Whereas when you do negative priming, it slows it down. Now, there are different types of priming. Semantic priming is words, which in a logical way will be connected and which will give you the trigger, will be the trigger. There is another type of priming called associative priming. I told you the experience of the vacation. Or when we say cat, we automatically, whether we like it or not, we think of mouse, no? Because we've heard the cat and mouse, cat and mouse, that kind of connection, though they're totally unrelated words, they're totally different animals. but it's a link because these two words are often linked together. Like when I say water, you may think of drinking water. You may think of having a shower. You may think of having a swim. All of these associations will come to your mind. The trigger, the priming word is water. So repetition priming is something that when you repeatedly pair two words together. Now, supposing you're always saying Laurel and Hardy. You see, we have repeatedly linked those two characters together and those two names together. So if I say Laurel, you're likely to say Hardy. That's because that's a repetition priming. They're unrelated words. They're completely different people. But at the same time, we remember them as a pair. Then there is a different kind of priming called perceptual priming. So here, the words will have, or words or concepts will have similar forms. Goat, boat, coat. So when we think of rhyming words, we are actually doing perceptual priming. Conceptual priming, there'll be a stimulus and a response. So when I say the word seat, you will think of a chair, you will think of a sofa, you will think of a bench. Those are conceptual. The concept is a chair, is a seat. But the priming word, that is the priming word. And then the brain will bring up all the other associations. What all options do you have for a seat? Then you've got mask priming, where the initial stimulus gets obscured, but it still evokes a response. Example of this is, now the initial response, initial cue word could be, let us say, take my Instagram channel. It is Prithika Chary. Prithika Chary puts a hashtag and puts brain health. You've been watching Prithika Chary on Instagram for some time. So when you see brain health, you'll think of Prithika Chary. But the word Prithika Chary has not come there at all. Only hashtag brain health has come. So the initial stimulus is not visible, but you still respond. When you read brain health, you think of Prithika Chary. So how is priming related to habit formation? Habits are formed because we have a loop. There's a habit loop that develops. The components are, the first component is the cue or trigger. The second component is the behavior itself. The third component is the reward that we get. So let us say the cue for a behavior is, I'm bored. I'm sitting there, I'm really feeling fed up and bored. There is a negative way it can go, a positive way it can go. So what do? I reach for my phone. I start scrolling. Okay, let me browse some Instagram. Let me browse something else. So what happens? That behavior gives me a high. It gives me a dopamine hit in the brain. It's a reward. I'm no longer bored. But I can make a bad habit of this and keep doing it. It's a negative thing that I'm doing. But let us assume the same, I'm bored. But instead of reaching for the phone as a positive prime, I get up and go for a walk. I still get a dopamine hit because I'm no longer bored. But I'm doing something positive for my body and for my brain. So there is a part of the brain called the basal ganglia. And the two basal ganglia, the pathways are what are involved in habit formation. Now, one pathway has associations. It'll go back and track an association. Whereas the second pathway is more automatic. So both of these are functioning in you. When it's associative, a little bit of your consciousness is involved in that because you're remembering that vacation, you're bringing it to mind consciously, and you're getting the priming effect. Whereas some of it is automatic. Most of it is automatic. However, a habit, once we got this cue behavior, this thing in place, you have to keep repeating it for it to become a permanent habit loop. Otherwise, that habit loop can break. Because I can get a dopamine hit by scrolling my phone. I can get a dopamine hit by going for a walk. I always have a choice how I'm going to get that. So if I keep taking the negative habit continuously, that's going to loop and loop and loop and form a very stronger connection in my brain. Because neurons that fire together, wire together. So that will lead to an automatic behavior. So after a while, every time I'm bored, my answer to boredom is scrolling the phone. But if I'm doing different things each time I'm bored, then my answer to boredom is very variable. It's open. It's much, much better for my brain. And the habits are stored in the basal ganglia. And I've already told you that one is an associative. So the third element is very important. That when you keep enjoying the dopamine hit, when you feel satisfied, I'm so happy I went for a walk. I feel great walking in nature. I did forest bathing. I feel wonderful. Then what's going to happen if I repeat that behavior? It's going to become a habit. So every time I want to feel good when I'm bored, I'll get up and go for a walk. So how do we break a bad habit? You have to reduce your exposure to the trigger or the cue. So if you are constantly active, doing something and busy and all that, you're not going to be bored. So if you avoid the trigger, that is the best way. But the second method, sometimes you can't avoid the trigger. Replace it by finding a better habit that you enjoy. See, you're a fitness person, so you enjoy going for a walk in nature. So naturally, if you choose, instead of sitting at home and seeing Netflix, you go for a walk every time you're bored, you're going to replace a bad habit. Maybe you had that habit of watching Netflix every time you were bored, and then you couldn't take yourself away because the movie was so interesting. But if you positively replace it, knowing that it's doing you not so much good, or it's not serving you, then you break the bad habit by replacing it with a habit that you enjoy. So the steps to break a bad habit are: first, you identify your triggers, track your habit, see if it has got a pattern. Yeah, every time I do this, I do that. Then note things whenever the habitual behavior begins. Yes, it's become a habit for me to do this. It's become a habit for me to drink my tea before I brush my teeth. Maybe I want to change that. So I have to notice that when I reach for that teacup without brushing my teeth, oh my God, I have to brush my teeth. You replace it and remind yourself. So the priming effect works both ways. So you also have to, if you want to change your habit, you have to focus on why you want to change. See, the power to change your habit comes from you. So when many of us have bad habits, a lot of bad habits. For instance, I know it's important for me to drink 2 liters of water per day, but I often forget to drink water. And then I end up by afternoon seeing that I've only had about 500 ml or 600 ml. Then I try to make good that deficit by drinking more water all evening, which becomes a bit of a nuisance because you're going up and down to the loo again. You see, so stupid things like that we do. So focus on why you want to change. Why should I drink more water? So that I don't get cramps. Why should I drink more water? Because my kidney has to empty the toxins effectively. And that will happen only if I give it water. So determine the why of why you want to change, get out of that bad habit. It's very useful to have a friend or a family member to support and encourage you. Every time somebody walks past, they can tell you, hey, did you drink water? Go and drink water. So what I did, I kept it in front of me here, 1 glass of water. Whether it's a half an hour session or 1 hour session, I keep a glass of water in front of me. And because it's staring at me, I drink it. Okay? Be mindful. That goes for anything. When you want to arrest a bad thought and you want to replace with a good thought and all that, you have to be a bit mindful. And swapping habits, I've already told you. So one way we've already said is you have to imagine the undesirable behavior and the harm it's doing to you. Also make the environment undesirable for that behavior. Meaning, like if I'm not drinking water, there's no point in my keeping water in a room far away from me. I must create a desirable environment to encourage me to drink water. So I probably have to keep a bottle of water in every room in my home, so that wherever I go, I'm reminded that I should drink water. So you can also help, people around you can remind you, can nag you and say, right, go on, put on your shoes and come. Because you promised yourself you'll go to the gym every day. So you need to understand what is happening in your brain. And that is the reason why this priming is what I thought would be a good, interesting thing for you to understand about your brain. And remember, good or bad habits, they're routines, they're automatic. And another thing happens, there'll be resistance from your brain. When you break a bad habit, it creates what is called as dissonance. That is, the vibrations which were going on in one rhythmic way will be disturbed. And straight away, the protective part of your brain, the limbic system, will bring in a fight, flight, freeze, the stress response. And you look at it as a threat, having to break the bad habit, because you're so comfortable in it for so long. And then you lapse back into that. Oh yeah, not today, I'll go tomorrow. So before you try to change a habit, identify why you want to change. If your why is very strong, chances are you will change. And the more personal it is, the more benefit it gives, the more it serves you, the stronger your motivation is going to be. And then you have to look out for the internal and external triggers. How can we use priming? We can use priming in health management. Now, what they did was a very simple, it's so remarkably simple that it's unbelievable. So there was a research done where students were given sentences to unscramble. Okay. Some were given sentences which talked a lot about, drink 2 liters of water per day, exercise 30 minutes, 5 times a week, eat lots of fruits and vegetables, like that healthy, active lifestyle kind of sentences. Another group was given that, that it wasn't nothing very, very much pro-health. They were given random sentences. And the students who had the sentences, they had to unscramble sentences about healthy lifestyle, ended up taking the stairs to class instead of taking the lift, because of the priming effect. So that acted like a priming cue into the brain, just reading those sentences. So when you put it to good use, priming can really help you to become more healthy and active. So sometimes when people say you're nagging me, you're repetitively telling me and all that, it's actually you're doing them a favor, because you're priming. You're creating the priming. Another study they showed, this is a very interesting study. There was an honesty box. They collected money for drinks in the university coffee lounge. They just stuck an image of a pair of eyes, as if the eyes are looking at the contributions. They found that people paid 3 times as much for their drinks than they would have without the image. They felt somebody was watching them, somebody is looking at them, and that created a priming effect of wanting to be more honest and more contributory. So subtle cues like that can act as very powerful primers. So the positive effects of priming on psychology have been proven again and again. So you can change the state of your mind by changing your physical state by an effective priming routine. Like I told you, my mind is saying, it's 6:30, I'd like to sleep till 7 o'clock, I don't want to get up and go to the gym. But if I just overcome that thing and get up and put on my shoes, even before brushing my teeth, never mind, and change into my gym clothes and then go brush my teeth, by then I'm alert and bright and ready to go to the gym. So when you change your physical state with some kind of a priming routine, So this is how you can build your positive habits. And repetition priming, I already told you about, can attract all the good in your life. So when you know how to reset your mood, you will be priming yourself for success. So that is what mental priming is. Was it interesting?
Absolutely. Very.
Was it something new?
The way the brain works around this was very, very new. But the why of why, so when I'm coaching people, I actually tell them identify your why.
Correct.
And a lot of people actually struggle with identifying the why.
Yes.
With training, for instance, which is what I do. They are not able to identify the why, or the why is not strong enough for them to build a very sustainable habit around it.
Yeah, all habits need your why to be very powerful. See, now, for instance, when you say, I want to become a doctor. So my why was very strong. So right through school, I was very clear I wanted to be a doctor. So naturally, what did I do? I studied harder. I made sure I got good marks because getting into medical college was difficult. I went and worked during summer holidays with a doctor. So I did everything. I was mentally priming myself to be a good doctor when I become a doctor. So that all of us do that, but we don't even realize we are doing it. This is all subconsciously being done. But you can also make it a more conscious thing. That's the power of priming. Because it's a specific process which works on the brain.
Right. But doctor, I have a question. See, I think, it's so fantastic to hear you speak about this. But a lot of people somehow have the why, but I think the why is just very superficial for them. Like, for instance, they would say, I want to lose weight, or I want to be healthier, will be their why. But they don't follow through with a set of things that will actually be actionable for them to get.
You have to corner them to be specific. I want to lose weight, won't do. I want to lose 5 kilos in 3 months. And I will monitor. I commit to do what it takes to get there. You have to pin them down that way. Then only their motivation, because there are two types of motivation. One is deprivation motivation, one is developmental motivation. Deprivation motivation is I don't have, so I want. Developmental motivation is whatever I'm having may not be enough, but I want to get more. I'm not saying I don't have. I'm willing to have more. So the developmental motivation is what we have to instill. So you just have to use further questioning and get them narrow down to, and make them put some visual cue, something in front of them to, or put a picture of themselves when they were 5 kilos less. A photograph, stick it all over the place. So every time they see that, that's a mental prime. That's how I was, and that's how I'm going to get again. So that will motivate them better. And fitness is always fitness like health only. Everybody knows what's the right thing to do for health, but they won't do it. And when they do it, they'll do it as if they're doing it as a favor to the doctor, not for themselves.
That's true. That's true. And
Yeah.
I think...
What? You think?
No, and I think, see, although my work involves doing a lot of this, I think in my personal life, some of the things that you mentioned, right? I do deal with a lot of bad habits, which I struggle to get out of. I tell myself that I will not eat certain kinds of food. But like you said, if it is lying around the house, then there is no way that I can escape eating it. That's one terrible habit that I'm really struggling to overcome. And also, sometimes the brain forgets to release negative thoughts.
No. Not sometimes.
All the time.
Out of 60,000 thoughts you have in your brain, 40,000 are negative.
Okay, so I'm not the only one.
Everybody, there is what is called as the negativity bias in the brain. Okay. And the role of the brain, the negativity bias, is to protect you.
Really?
It is a survival thing. See, the brain's job is to keep you safe. So that is why this fight, flight, freeze reaction is there naturally to protect you. So the brain is constantly looking out for danger. So there is a negativity bias in the brain. But what we need to realize is the conscious brain has to come and control the negative brain, which is the deeper emotional brain called the limbic system, and a structure called the amygdala. It has to tell the amygdala, listen, there's no tiger in the bush there. You were a predator before and you had to watch out for predators too, so you don't get eaten up. But now there's no tiger in the bush. So readjust your thinking to the current situation. That is done consciously, deliberately. So when you get a negative thought, you have to pluck it out and give an alternative thought. And unfortunately, to replace one negative thought, it takes 6 to 8 positive thoughts. It's not one for one. So what you have to train your brain over time is to make the monkey brain a monk mind. So it's like a monkey jumping there, pulling everything, eating you up. We call them ants, automatic negative thoughts. So just like ants will niggle, the red ant will really can bother you. That's how the negative thoughts will bother you. So you need to work on that. I do a lot of courses. I just finished rebooting your brain for resilience. I just finished boost your brain power. We are now doing manifesting mindset magic. We'll be repeating these courses after July. And there are 2 more courses we do called life skills for 2023 and beyond. Also soul gym and brain sculpting.
It's so absolutely fascinating how much all of us can achieve by just understanding how the brain works around.
Exactly my intention in doing all this.
Yeah.
I want you all to love your brains, nurture it, cherish it. Because you take care of it, it will serve you well. So do go to my website. There are a lot of free resources there. There are 2 or 3 ebooks. There are some free videos. There's some blogs. And you will get regular updates on whatever programs we are going to do.
Ma'am, I have a question. Yeah.
Sorry? www.drprithikachary.com. Yeah, please ask Isaac. No problem.
So, ma'am, if priming is all about trigger and cues and sort of taking care of this, like meditation, which is supposed to be like a beneficial, kind of an activity for the brain, actually is almost devoid of any cues or triggers, right? So, what?
Yeah, but at least it'll quieten the negative ones, no?
Okay.
The mindfulness means being aware. It's not necessarily meditation, just being conscious and aware of everything happening around you.
Got it.
That will help you in converting your primers into positive primers and not negative ones.
Got it.
There's always a good and a bad and a high and a low and up and a down. There are opposites. So you have to be balancing them is the trick.
Good.
Sudha, any questions? Nirmal, any questions?
Lot of questions, ma'am.
Go ahead, ask.
No. I just wanted to know, see, I'm a personality who worries a lot, overthinks a lot. I overthink quite a bit. Okay. Even if there is no problem, I think of a problem. Keep worrying. I keep thinking
there are some mini videos on my website. One is on how to stop worrying and overthinking. Another one is how to not to bother what others think of you. So go and see. They're all 3 to 5 minutes. They're very brief ones.
Actually, today I got a video of yours. I think it was done in Bigden from one of my yoga master to me. That's when that's the first time I listened to you.
Okay, Aval Veganan.
Yeah. And then subsequently, Anupama had sent me the link. It was very nice, ma'am. It was
Thank
indeed
you.
how you, became a neurologist, neurosurgeon those days. How difficult it must have been, I can imagine. It was very nice. I'll certainly look up those videos.
Yeah,
It's
go ahead.
available on YouTube.
No, it's
It's
on.
available.
There are some of my videos on YouTube also,
Okay.
but these are on my website as free resources.
Okay.
Just the banner on top, you just click on free resources. It will tell you videos, ebooks, blogs. Go and
Okay.
browse around them.
Sure, ma'am.
Okay. Right. Good night. Thank you, value
Thank you.
audience.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Right. Ever let the fact that the world doesn't see now, I don't get dejected that only 3-4 of you attended. I'm very pleased that 4 of you attended, because though I know Isaac, I've met 3 new people, which
True,
means
ma'am.
75% of my audience was new, which is
Correct.
a very, very worthwhile goal to achieve.
True.
No, and also very interesting how. So I know for the longest time you have been visiting the Krishnachari Yoga Mandiram.
Yes.
And I was there for a brief while training under Mekhala Desikachar, but I never had the opportunity to see you in person even once. And this morning, Sudha sent me that video, that Aval Vigadan video. And then I was browsing, and that's how I stumbled on your Instagram page. And then I found this, and I said, oh my God, this feels like a sign.
Actually, I'm doing if any of you have youngsters in your lives, I'm doing a workshop, 3-hour workshop on Saturday called The Amazing Brain, How to Make It Work for You, for 16 to 20-year-olds.
Wow.
Little older, little younger can also sign up. It's 500 rupees. That's all, 499. The registration links are on the Instagram. They're on my website, everything. It's this Saturday. So they can join if they are interested. And it's like a summer workshop I thought I'll do. But I think up to now, I'm not quite sure if we've had any signups. That also doesn't worry me. You see, that's it. Overthinking, you said no.
Yeah.
You see, we can make a mountain into a molehill instead of making a molehill into a mountain.
True.
Nothing should really see, in life, nothing is a must or a should. Just go through life that way.
Yeah.
We are very grateful if things happen well for us. If they don't happen, there must be some reason for it. Everything happens with a reason.
Correct.
Just go with the flow.
True.
For that, you need to have supreme faith in God or the universe. Everything is exactly as it is meant to be. And like Bruce Lee says, be like water. You flow through the cracks, over the rocks, fall from the waterfall, do everything, but you remain water. You're flowing. And movement is very important. Keep going, keep moving. Stagnation is dangerous and very dangerous for the brain if you don't work your brain.
Yeah. True.
So best of luck to all of you.
Thank
Have
you.
a great weekend. Bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Very much, Dr.
Bye.
Such
Good
a
night.
pleasure. Good night.